Step 1 of the sewing instructions is to stitch fabrics G and O, the full strips and the 10.5-inch strips together. So I went ahead and pulled these out. Here's the full strips, and they're going to go together, right sides together. Both of them will be right sides together. And then you'll line them up neater than this, of course. And you're going to stitch 1/4 inch down this side and then 1/4 inch down this side. I like to chain piece them. So I went ahead and I stitched these strip sets together. It doesn't specify in the directions when you press them open which direction to press them. I read ahead and I determined that the long strip set needs to be pressed towards the floral fabric. So I'm going to press that one that way, and that'll give me 8 that are pressed to the dark side of the fabric. And then the shorter one, I'm going to need 4 pressed to the lighter side. That'll help in the next step when you put them together into 4 block units. It'll help you nest your seams. All right, so next we're going to cut these 2 strip sets into 2.5-inch segments. That should give you 4 out of this one and 8 out of the long one. So I like to use my June Taylor shape cuts. That way I don't have to keep moving the ruler. All right, so I'm going to go through here and I'm going to cut it at 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10, and then I'll have to move it down to cut my other 4. So step 2, you're making strip sets also. So I went ahead and I pulled the 10.5-inch strips out of my fabric that I cut. That gave me 3 more strip sets. So it's going to be strip set with fabric J and G, G and M, and L and G. It doesn't really matter which one's on top or bottom, because you're going to flip-flop them back and forth. Anyway, right sides together with all 3 of these. And then we'll head to the ironing board and cut those into 2.5-inch sections like the last strips. The 3 strip sets, I went ahead and I pressed the seam towards the dark side on all 3 of them. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut them into 2.5-inch strips. I can only cut 2 with my ruler, so I'll have to do 2 and then come back and do the other one separate. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut those in the on the 2.5 mark, the 5, 7.5, and then 10. So now we're going to assemble our 4 patches. It says to I took the 12-inch strip set, or the full length strip set that I cut 12 out of, and it says to alternate them. So you'll put them together like this. You'll need 4 blocks that look like this. It's hard to do with one hand. All right, and so I'm just gonna go back and I'm gonna sew these together. And right here, 1/4 inch seam, and I'll chain piece those. And then we'll come back and we'll assemble these. according to these directions. It gets a little confusing to me, but we'll lay them out and double check them with the picture here. Step 3 is to piece the rest of the 4 patch blocks together. So you're gonna have four of them that look like this, and then the other 4 will be like this. So I'll go ahead and I'll chain piece those together, and we'll have a total of 12, and we'll iron them open. 4 patch blocks are all pressed open, and at this point you really should check and make sure that they're all 4.5 inches square. I don't know anybody that likes squaring up their blocks, but it does make the quilt go together nicer in the end. These are close enough for me to 4.5 that I probably won't take the time to square them up. But if your 1/4 inch seams aren't consistent, you want to make sure you're squaring your blocks up, you know. All right, step 4, we're making half square triangles. So you're going to take your 5-inch fabric I, which is this one, and 5 inches of fabric C, and also fabric A. All right, it says to mark a line, a diagonal line on the back of fabric I. So I went ahead and marked that line. I just use a pencil because you're going to be cutting on that, so it really doesn't matter, and it's light enough that, you know, it's not going to, if you use a pen, it may bleed onto the fabric. So I just use a number 2 pencil, and I do 1 line. In the directions, they say to draw another line on 1/4 inch from this side and 1/4 on that side. I don't draw those lines myself. You can if you want. But when I put these 2 pieces together, I'm just stitch 1/4 inch on each side. All right, so you're going to put them, you'll have 4 of each, and you're going to put them together, line them up really even, and then you're going to go to your machine and you're going to stitch 1/4 inch on this side of the line and 1/4 inch on this side of the line. Do all of them at once, and then we'll come back and we'll get to the cutting and the pressing on these. I've got these all sewn together. I don't know if you can see my line here, but I've got the line that I drew and then the 1/4 inch on each side of it. So I'm just going to come in with my ruler and I'm going to line that up from point to point, just like when you drew the first line, and cut that with the rotary cutter. You could use scissors, just cut on the pencil line, however you want to do it. And then we'll come back and we're gonna press the fabric. So we've got 2 different sets. We've got a set of 4 with this print. This is the back side. And then there's 4 with this other print. Anyway, when I press them open, I'm going to press them, one of them, either one you want to do, just do them opposite. So this one you'd press towards the floral, and then maybe the other 4 you'll press towards the cream colored paisley. That way when you're nesting, the seams will nest when we get to that section. So again, 4 towards the flower, and then the other 4 with this print, you're going to press them towards the paisley. Either way you want to do it, just make sure they're opposite. So they're all pressed, and I pressed the one towards the floral and the other one towards the cream color background. They are supposed to measure 4.5 inches square, so unfortunately these have to be trimmed. So just get yourself a drink, sit down, and start trimming. There's 16 total, so we'll come back and work on the next step after we trim them up. The next step, step 7, is the same thing as what we just did with these two blocks, only you're using the two biggest pieces with the denim and the paisley, and then this one. So you're going to do the same thing, the line down the middle, and you're going to stitch 1/4 inch on both sides of that. This will make 2 big half square triangles and 2 big half square triangles in that one. And then you're also going to do this stack of half square triangles. There will be 16 units of it, so there's 8 of these and 8 of these. I went ahead and marked just the back side of this one, and I'll match them up right sides together with this one. And again, 1/4 inch on each side, cut in the middle and press them open. And I'll come back after we do that and we'll move on to the next step. All right, so these are the 3-inch square units that I turned into 16 half square triangles. Now I gotta trim them down to these, just like the other ones. Have to be trimmed down to 2.5 inches. See, if you don't trim them down, you're gonna have issues with things being square and squaring up. So 16 of those have to be trimmed. And then that'll be all the block units for the first block. There was 2 different blocks that we were doing this month. So this will complete the blocks, and then we'll just have to arrange them and assemble them. The next blocks are made out of these other half square triangles, the big ones. These were the 6.5 inch, the 7-inch squares. Again, this did specify to press towards the dark side on these, so they've been pressed to the dark. Somehow I lost my video, so I'm going to try and piece this back together. This is the last block, and it was half the paisley and the blue, and the other half is the floral and the blue. So you're going to draw a line on the back of this from corner to corner, and just like we did the other blocks, you're going to stitch 1/4 inch down either side of the line, cut on the line, and then you're going to match them, nesting the seams. You want to nest this seam across here with the one on the back, and then you can flip it up and check and make sure that the block looks like this. Block 9, so this is correct. So when you press it open, this is what you'll have after you stitch that seam. And then the directions said to press the two triangle sets open and center the seams. I assume that means that the seams need to be pressed open. So that's what I did. Sorry, I know that clip is a little confusing. Somehow I lost my my video from the original demonstration, but anyway, you should end up with 4 blocks like this when you're done. And then that's the end of block 1, except for squaring them up. You want to square them up to 6.5 inch squares. I went ahead and laid the block out, and it looks like the 2 corners need to be sewn together as a 4 patch. So after I sew those together, there will be 4 on this corner, 4 on this corner, and then the whole thing will go together like a giant 9 patch. I went ahead and sewed the corner 4 patches together. So now all it left to do is sew the whole block together as a 9 patch. So you'll sew these 3 together, these 3 together, and then these, and then you'll join the first and second row to the second and third row. And when you're finished, your block should look like that. That's block 3, and then this is block 9, and you're done for the week.